Welcome to a special crossover episode of the Worldwide Reds podcast. Today we're stepping outside the football pitch and into the world of trading cards and grading, something that becomes massive for collectors, investors and fans alike. If you ever wondered what grading actually is, what it matters or how it even starts, this one's for you. We'll break it down into simple terms, look at how Australian market fits into the global picture and give you some real practical tools you can use right away. And joining me is someone who knows the space better than anyone, Jonathan Marin, the man behind TCG Grading and the only APAC-based AVAA-accredited valuer in collectible world. By the end of the episode, you'll understand what makes a card valuable, how to avoid the traps, and why grading can completely change the way you look at your collection. Let's get into it. How are you, Jonathan? Eliot's worked hard with this, and let's go.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, really, I'm really excited to be here and to talk all things grading, valuations, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I know you're a busy man, Jonathan. So I know, for me and the boys, we appreciate your time and thanks so much for, coming on. It's really exciting time. So I guess probably just wanted to, maybe just kick off, Jonathan, if you could just give us a bit of an idea of, yourself, your experience and I guess a bit about TCG.
Sure. Yeah. So in a nutshell, I've been in and out of collectibles for about 25 years. My very first collectible was a Nintendo under the Christmas tree in the early 80s and, played Super Mario to death. And that's how it all sort of started. And then from there, my cousin got into Pokémon and wanting to be the cool cousin, got into Pokémon as well. So it's been an incredible journey in terms of seeing how gaming, Pokémon, TCG has evolved over the last 25 years. And most recently, my wife and I set up a shop in Castle Hill, Tag Collectibles, and then that catapulted us into grading, where I've been grading, and we acquired TCG Grading just over a year ago now. And most recently, further to all those acronyms that Adam was putting out earlier. So I'm one of the only accredited valuers that's certified under the Auctioneers and Valuers Association of Australia. So I'm licensed and accredited to provide official valuations on all things collectibles, including TCG and other memorabilia there as well.
We might have to get him into the cave, I think.
I was about to say that. What avenue do you have to go down to get accredited to become a valuer? That's awesome.
Look, it was a pretty long, drawn-out process. So there were multiple sort of presentations to their board. Some of their board members didn't really know what Pokemon was, so I had to sort of sit down and explain a little bit about it. We had to provide them with all types of policies, procedures, templates on our grading reports, evaluation reports, that type of thing. So it was fairly intense, but I'm very pleased to say that they've invited me to their APAC conference next week to talk about the nostalgia economy and grading and valuations in all of the collectibles and TCG space. Yeah.
I must say I was just looking at the Tag Collectibles. Like on Google, I guess, and the images and stuff. And one of the first things I saw was the Dreamcasts and stuff like that, which is obviously quite nostalgic. And I saw Mortal Kombat Gold, which I know came for the Dreamcast at the time. I remember. I think I used to use them like an emulator and a ROM and all that kind of stuff, and play it on my PC back in the day. Pretty sick.
And it's just really weird when you can see the console, and I don't know if it happens to you guys, but I actually hear the image. I hear the startup sounds, whether it's Sega, Dreamcast.
PS1 for me, it will forever be the PS1.
Yeah. and just praying that the disc would load so that the second part of the sound would start. That was.
It's the memory card or whatever for the PS1, blowing air into it and chucking it in, and it's not working on this input, I'll try it on the other one. So
it was that TV screen attachment that you could get for the mini PS1 for me. I think that was like just a big game changer when I was like, 8, 9 years old. And then, I could just play it sitting up in my bed in the middle of the night, and hope my parents didn't sort of like, come in, what do you get off Spyro, get off Crash Bandicoot,
Mate, those were the days.
Mate, I'm 51, so we used to just hire it from Video Easy.
Yeah, that's so good.
I remember once.
I'm feeling really young right now. I'm feeling good.
You think that's that, Jordan? I remember once. It would have probably been 2001, 2002 when Pokemon Gold and Silver were like a thing. And again, I played it on my ROM, and I was like in my emulator, and I was playing it like 3x speed, so it was really quick, and you can do whatever. And I went and I bought the game. Like, I actually bought it from Video Easy. I think they had it, and I played it on my Game Boy Color. I guess it was that one. And I was like, why is it so slow? And I actually went back to the shop and I asked them, why is it so slow? Is the game faulty? Because I didn't realize that I'm just playing it at quick mode on the computer. But,
My first Pokemon was Pokemon Leaf Green, and I was hooked on Pokemon after that.
Yeah, by that point, I actually stopped.
Remake,
like I've already played like 4 generations worth.
Yeah. Thanks for making me feel young again.
I think, Jonathan, the big thing that I guess sort of our, the community that, me and the boys are sort of a part of, we've got our own, I guess, sort of like Manchester United trading card community and things like that. And a lot of the conversations we've been having with the boys is just around, I guess, grading and stuff like that. And we've been looking at recently, doing a bit of a group sub, and we've sort of been a little bit sort of hot and cold on sort of, do we send something away? And, I mean, if I do a group sub with Adam, for example, I know that my message is going to blow up until it comes back, and that could be 6 to 10 months at the moment. Around time has certainly sort of got us a bit apprehensive, which is sort of what sparked us to, bring yourself on and have a bit of a chat. So I guess, from your perspective, what exactly is grading? Can you talk us a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So grading is the process of authenticating and assessing the condition of an item and giving it a number out of a predetermined grading scale that's pretty much summarizes its overall condition. So in most scales around the world now, there were some grading companies that were using a 0 to 100 point scale. There are some companies now that still use a 0 to 100 or 0 to 1,000 point scale and then take it back down to 0 to 10. But most companies have like a 1 to 10 grading scale, where 10 is what's called pristine or gem mint, a card that's essentially flawless, that it has very little amount of imperfections, right through to a 1, which is a card that's been what's called heavily played. Or it could also be classed as in poor condition or damaged. So those are the types of cards that we sort of see creases. They're the cards that people, remember taking to school and keeping in their back pocket and then putting it through the mud and the grass and then putting it back in their binder, those sorts of things. Right up through to 10. So, and then the process is, once we authenticate and assign it a number based on the grading scale, it then is sealed in a slab using sonic welding equipment, so that the card is preserved alongside a label which pretty much explains what the card is, the year, the series, the set name, and then it also has the actual grade that's been assigned to that card there as well.
Yeah, so good. I think we're all, Adam's got a couple of TCG slabs, where he graded with TCG. That was a while ago, Adam, actually, wasn't it? A couple of years ago.
Yeah, I did it a couple of years ago through Popgenics, and mate, it was Sam there, and it was so good. I saw him at a show, and I think I got 6 or so done, and 6 or 7 or so done, mate. I was so happy. It was the first time I ever graded. Came in a beautiful box and everything like that, so I keep it. And they did stickers for me as well. They did card stickers and stuff like that. It was a really easy process. I was so happy with it. And for me, the thing I loved about the TCG was the hologram. The hologram writing at the top and everything like that. I think it's quite special with some of the older cards and things like that, especially the foil stickers and stuff like that. It really matches my PC really nicely. And I don't get anxiety either if I leave it in Australia.
Well, that's actually quite a valid point, Adam, because like I was with you there in that show or whatever, and it makes it very accessible to actually have the opportunity to do that within Australia. You know, you trust the people that are there straight away. You know, you'll get it back in quite a quick like turnover time and things like that. And I agree with you. Like the last thing you want as well is, you know, I'm sending it to the USA. I don't know where it's going to be for the next 2 or 3 months or whatever the case is. You know, you might get lost and things like that. Well, here, again, it's quite accessible. I'm sure. I assume we can go to your shop as well, Jonathan, and drop it off there and things like that. Like, it's nice to have those kind of opportunities. So,
especially like when you got 60, 70-year-old cards. Like some of the cards I've got are over 100 years old, and some of them that we've sourced. It's taken us a long time to source those cards, and man, I was so happy with the way it all went down with TCG.
Think about what happened with me. I bought a 1 of a player PC and it got lost in the mail from America.
Now it's a none of none.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think
you're a dick. It still hurts.
I think we all grade our cards for different reasons, right? So you know, I mean, probably I'm in the minority on the pod, and I have graded to, you know, I guess increase the value of my card and move it on and stuff like that. I used to, you know, jump into breaks and I was breaking to be a little bit cheeky and get a bit of money as well, you know, which a few people have done. But I guess these days I just grade my cards just to keep my PC sort of looking nice on the shelf and stuff like that. You can see behind me. I guess probably from your perspective, Jonathan, I guess what does TC maybe do differently to others, you know, from a grading perspective?
Yeah, so one of the biggest advantages that we've got is just the sheer variety of TCG lines that we actually grade. So a lot of the other grading companies in Australia and even around APAC, they can be quite limited in terms of only doing Pokémon or sports. TCG has built up quite an extensive knowledge bank over the last few years, and we have quite a number of experienced team members, which means that we do everything from Pokemon, Lorcana, Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh, all different types of movie lines, all different types of sports lines. We even do adult cards as well, which is very interesting. I was at a Brisbane show, and one of our customers just put them on the table, and I'm trying to sort of get him to go to the end of the table because there were families around and he didn't quite pick up what I was putting down. So we do all types of cards given, so long as they're licensed and so long as we have reference points, we can absolutely do that. So that's I think one of the biggest things that we've got going for us. The other one is we do use quite a range of AI and also forensic and magnification type of equipment to have a look, UV equipment to really analyze and assess the items as well. That's mixed in with human graders. So we know that there are some companies overseas in particular that are boasted to go all AI, and we know we've tested it, and AI is not the answer for grading. I think anyone that can purport to just grade a card or an item purely using AI, that's a bit risky. That's a bit risky, and we've seen some grading companies, particularly in America, that have initially sort of went out with that, and then they had to sort of retract it a bit when TikTokers went online with their cards to sort of go, oh, you know, they missed this, they missed that, and then, you know, this particular company issued a bit of a retraction to sort of go, oh, no, we use human graders as well. So I think the blend, as well as the extensive experience we've got, but also the fact that we are one of the largest grading companies in Australia because we've been around since 2021. We've now graded, I think as of this morning, 126,800 cards and booster packs.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So, you know, so it's been an incredible journey, and, you know, we're
a
just
lot
about
of cards to look at.
Yeah, it is, you know, and it's and that's one of the things that I absolutely love jumping into the grading queue or helping the team out is even now there are still Pokemon cards that I haven't seen. There are still other types of cards I haven't seen, and then, you know, and then I jump on eBay because I want that card. So it gets very expensive for me, you know, sort of having a look through some of the submissions and stuff, you know, but yeah, so we're reliable, we're reputable. We've been around for quite a long time, and we have a lot of expertise across many different lines. Yeah.
How can I ask? How big is the team in Australia now? Like, do you know?
Yeah, so we've just finished a recruitment run. So we now have 7 people just on the TCG side, and that's not counting the people that are also across the valuation side of the business, as well as the shop and retail arm as well. So it's just 7 people that we've got just dedicated to grading and providing that end-to-end customer service in TCG.
That's awesome.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. I guess in terms of is it just cards that you guys grade at the moment, Jonathan? Is that right?
Yes, we do cards. We also do booster packs. We also can grade sealed promotional cards as well. So some people like to keep it sealed. I'm a bit of a sealed collector myself. I don't like opening packs, but then I see other people opening packs and getting God packs and getting IRs and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I should have opened it. So we also grade sealed, but one of the key things that people need to keep in mind is that when you're grading a sealed promotional card, it sounds a bit weird, but we can only actually grade the topmost surface. So it means that we actually grade the plastic, we don't actually grade the card. So that's what people sort of need to think about with those types of promos. And then in the new year, we're launching grading for Funko Pops and grading for video games as well. So we've been working on a grading methodology and casing for everything from Game Boy games to PlayStation, Xbox. As long as it's sealed, we can grade it. So
I've got a couple of for you that will go quite well.
Yeah.
So what do you look for in video games to grade? Is it the condition of the actual disc, like the container, like the what do you call it?
It'll be the condition of the actual box itself, the quality of the seal, amongst a whole range of other different sort of factors. You know, whether there's been any signs of physical damage, wear and tear, that type of thing. So when we get to that point of launching video game grading, there'll be a lot more information on what we look for on our website.
So what about I'm sort of reading Jordan's mind here as going through this. We collect match tickets.
That's exactly what my next question was going to
go. I'm dying to hear this answer because I've asked TCG that many times about match tickets, and I have some of the best match tickets programs. I would love to get. Okay, at the moment I just buy the one-touch slabs, the comic slabs for the programs, and I make do with that at the moment. But I would love. I've got some graded slabs for programs, and I would love to grade some of my programs from the 1940s and things like that. Just especially because I know it's going to look really nice in that slab, and it'll look unreal in my cave. So, and especially match tickets.
It is something that we get a lot of inquiries about, tickets, as well as some of the promotional coins that can be put into Pokemon Elite Trainer boxes and other types of promotional items. So cards and coins and tickets we get asked for all the time. One of the things that we're very cognizant about, though, is just restricting the movement of the item when it's sealed. So one of the things that we definitely can put into the pipeline for the second half of next year is just how we can do that, because we are getting a lot of requests. And I think if we can nail how we can sort of safely secure it in the actual slab itself, as well as establishing some knowledge points and some reference points to help with the authentication process, there's no reason why we can't do that. So look us up in 6 to 8 months and we'll see how we go.
I think between Adam, Jordan, and Paul, you probably end up having like 2 years worth of submissions to go through.
Probably.
I have got tickets the same size as the same size as cards. So the ones from probably 1960s are all around about the same size as cards. Would you consider them?
Yeah, so long as we've got a valid reference point and that knowledge base. So whenever there's a new TCG line or just a new product line, there's quite a bit of a process in establishing authentication points, those knowledge banks, and then also conducting training across the entire grading team to make sure that we're across it all. So we just need to factor some of that sort of lead time in and working with the manufacturers and the printers to make sure we get the right information, because the authentication is key. One of the key things, Adam, is that the fakes are getting really, really, really good across so many different lines. Resealed packs, replicas, which, they're no longer calling fake, but, it's fan made, that's the safe way to say it's a fake, So the authentication, particularly in this current climate, is really key.
Do you guys get many fake items sent to you guys for grading? Say like fake Pokemon cards and stuff of like the vintage
all
stuff?
the time. All the time. Yeah. So we actually worked with some of the law enforcement in Metro Sydney in relation to. There was a group of people that was actually what they were doing was they were taking Pokemon base set cards, and they were putting the first edition stamps on them they got the first edition stamping press from an Etsy site. And obviously putting the first edition stamp on, more than quadruple the price of some of these cards. And so we started to, when we got one, then we got another one, and it's kind of like, in the police detective shows where you sort of put all the little strings up against all the little photographs on the wall, and we started to sort of triangulate and do all that type of stuff.
Get the whiteboard up, and you're all just.
That's it. And then we started to realize that something was sort of afoot. Something wasn't quite right, and we handed over all that information to help track the individual down that was selling these cards through Facebook Marketplace. We also had someone else that unfortunately his wife spent $2,000 in getting him some base set packs off eBay, and all of these packs were resealed incredibly well. It took us 2 days. And normally when the graders sometimes feel like something's not right, they would just escalate it through to me for a bit of a second check. And we had like half the team on this because we really wanted to make sure it was that good. And they ended up being fake, unfortunately. It's just really unfortunate. By the time they went back through to eBay, the seller had shut down all their accounts. It was really difficult, for the person to try to get their money back.
Yeah, we get how thorough you were though with that.
Yeah, we get it a lot through obviously sporting cards and posters and stuff like that with autographs and jerseys and jerseys you can tell generally pretty easy, but when it comes to autographs, like I study autographs, and most of these boys come to me when it comes to an autograph or something like that, because a lot of them I acquire myself, and I try and teach these boys as well. So, it's something you got to be aware of big time.
Oh well, and in the sports scene, the majority of the replicas that we get are the ones in the 90s. So we get a lot of cards that and we never use the F word. We always say that we just can't authenticate it, because sometimes a card could actually just go through a really bad print run, or it could have so many imperfections that it just fails our quality assurance processes in the authentication stage of grading. So we have quite a few cards that just won't pass, but we grade and we don't judge, and we always call the customer up and we say, listen, these are some cards here that we just haven't been able to authenticate for these reasons, and we offer them the opportunity to send in replacement cards so that they don't lose their money. And more often than not, it's a case of, but I've had these cards since school, so I had no idea that they were fake. They were just in my binder all the time. Or, my parents bought them and they don't really know about it. Or my kids actually took our Pokemon cards to school, swapped them around, and, the kids just weren't aware that they traded, a genuine Charizard for a fake one, or for a replica.
That's mental.
Yeah. Happens a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, Jonathan, if we go probably a little bit broadly from a grading perspective, I guess I know a lot of there are still a lot of people out there who are keen to grade but have never graded before. I guess can you give us an idea, someone who's a bit more of a rookie to this space, who the players are when it comes to grading?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that myself and the team are very much about is pro-choice when it comes to the grading company, because there are grading companies that offer different things that align to different people's interests and objectives around grading. So some people just want to grade to protect their PC, their personal collection. Other people grade because they want to sell the cards. Other people want to grade because they want to, start a business and start vending and selling cards that way that are sealed. So from a grading perspective, some of the things that we've also come across, Eliot, is there's a real big opportunity to raise awareness around where Australian grading sits in relation to some of the other more global leaders like PSA and Beckett's. And one of the best things that I do is I actually start by explaining to people that grading is like a form of currency. And like the Australian dollar isn't the same parity as the American dollar, it's exactly the same thing with American and Australian grading. PSA has been around for a long time. They're a market leader, whether some of us like it or not. Grading in itself is quite polarizing with people. They either love it or hate it. So you've got global leaders there, and then you've got Australian leaders like TCG Grading, where with Australian grading we can kind of guess that it's about 75 to 100% of what the PSA market rate is, as kind of like an exchange rate. So that's really important for people to understand. A lot of the time we see in Facebook groups that people sort of go, Australian grading is worthless, or, if you want to sell that card, you have to crack it open and just sell it raw. And that's just simply not true. Australian grading and Australian graded cards sell. They sell quite strongly. And in fact, some of our vendors have no problems just selling TCG cards and other Australian graded cards at PSA rates, So it is about sort of that first step is trying to build awareness around the position of Australian grading. We are in a very strong position in Australia. We have some great companies in Australia that help provide that grading service locally. It's fast, it's reliable, and you're not having to wait 10 months to get your cards back from overseas. So if you're looking to sort of wanting to sort of dabble a bit in grading and try grading out, my recommendation would be to try with an Australian grading company first. We've got some people that will say to me, you know what, Jonathan, we want to grade with TCG Grading, but then in 2-3 years' time, we might actually want to send it away to PSA. So our strategy is to protect it using TCG Grading and then send it away later on when we're ready to sell, because we get that global stage and we're able to sort of, do whatever we want to do a little bit more broadly and globally, and attracting more of a global market, because PSA is well known all over the world, just like the US dollar is. So that's totally fine as well. I think one of the great things about Australian grading companies like TCG Grading is that we don't offer any upcharge. So with other grading companies, if it's graded a 10, not only will you have to pay the grading fee, but you'll also be charged what's called an upcharge, or a commission that you'll need to pay to that grading company before they release your card back to you. And to me, that really rocks my ethical compass a bit, because I'm just like, how can the grading company that gives the card a 10 charge the customer more because of what they graded that card? Like, it's just it's wild to me to think.
I didn't know that was a thing, but that just sounds to me like they're gonna give you a 10, they get more money.
Oh, did you not?
Yes.
I did not know. I've never graded before. Like, I've always bought cards graded. That's why I'm about to send Jonathan about 25 cards when we get off this podcast.
It's similar, I guess, to how PSA would do, like sub 500 cost you, let's say, 60 Australian dollars. But if it's a card that ends up being more than $500, then it's going to cost you $80. But then a PSA 6 of a particular card might be 400, but a PSA 8 of that card could be 1,000, and therefore you'd have to pay that extra. So
shit, know that.
Yeah.
It feels like they'd give you better grades, and sometimes because they look at the value of the card and go, we can make a few more dollars here. Let's.
Sometimes I see a PSA 8, and I think to myself, how is that an 8 when mine's a 5 that looks identical? So I mean, it can happen.
Well, and that's where transparency is really important. So, most recently with TCG Grading, for example, we've now published subgrades. So when you type in the serial number on the website, you'll get a breakdown of the surface, the centering, the corners, and the edges. And we'll start introducing graders notes as well, so that you can really start to understand exactly sort of what's happened with that card and that card's condition. But one of the upcharges is probably one of the other reasons why I'd suggest for anyone starting out, starting out with an Australian-based grading company is always a good idea. We know through our testing as well that our TCG 9.5s and 10s can land in a 10 space in some of those global leading companies as well. So we know that our grading is consistent and that it sort of matches some of those global leaders there as well, which is really reassuring for us as well. But definitely, there is a bit of caution at the moment around, the upcharges, sending it overseas for 10 plus months, and, to grade some of these cards and to get it into the States, it can be anywhere from $60 to $80 just for the submission, So I mean, we certainly put our position forward when all the tariff stuff happened. We weren't happy about the tariff stuff, and because we really want to promote choice for people to grade, and thankfully there are still dealers that can help provide people with that support if they did want to grade overseas. But thankfully, there are also options here that people can explore, and at the moment we are turning cards around between 45, 50 business days. Sometimes faster, sometimes a bit longer. At the moment, it's a bit longer because of the sheer amount of volume that we're getting in at the moment. But, that's a lot better than sitting there for 10 months and then, having a card land on your doorstep that you've completely forgotten about,
Well, it's crazy to think you could send a card over, hope for a good grade, and you wait 6 months, get graded, and they go, we need another $400 off you before we send the card back. You just feel like, well, do you know what I mean? Like that's crazy to me. I think that's a complete rot of the system, if I'm being honest.
Because of that, personally, nowadays, I haven't sent a card for grading overseas in probably 18 months or whatever the case is.
Since we did it.
Yeah, since we did it. And that's because I know it's going to, number one, take so long. Number two, the card actually will end up, I need it to be a high value card. Otherwise, I'm paying, let's say, $60 for the grading, another $40 for the postage. I'm paying $100 for a card that might only be worth like $50 to $100. So there's no point in doing it for that kind of, situation. It's actually one of the reasons I've been recommending a lot of people recently that if you are grading it for personal collection, which is one of the, things you were mentioning before, Jonathan, like I think nowadays for me, if I'm grading something for a personal collection, I'm just grading it, number one, within Australia, it's quicker. Number two, I'm grading it for myself. I'm not grading it for selling. Like the soccer market's a bit weird because it is very PSA heavy in regards to prices and stuff like that. While I think like Pokemon and anime kind of cards are not like it's actually quite varied in regards to like whichever you have, which is what you were mentioning before. But because of that, personal collections, I just do it for myself. Like do it within here, do it like protect the card. That's like the main thing in regards to it.
Absolutely, and it's also a great opportunity just to trial how and test out how grading is, because I think to your earlier point, Eliot, one of the key things is that the way that the nostalgia economy and just the collectibles economy overall is going, it's pushing more people to consider not just entering the collectibles market, but then how to invest in it. And one of the keys or mechanisms to invest in collectibles is looking into graded cards and graded items as a way to sort of maintain some of the premium on that collectible item. So it is one of those things where people want to sort of dabble a bit, test in a little bit, and Australian grading is a perfect backdrop for them to try it out.
I think a lot of the market in Australia now have sort of they're cotton onto that, I think, and everyone's a lot of people are following that suit. Jonathan, didn't you? I think you mentioned to me your grading was grading consignments are like up 400% or something crazy like that.
Yeah, so in the last 6 months, we've just gone like
a little
this.
jump.
So I think, and October was a crazy month. October we were up by more than 800%, and we actually broke a TCG record. We had one customer on their own submit 936 cards, and that was a record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question then? What do you call the limit of someone sending you a bunch of cards? Like if you're grading 900 cards, like at what point do you go, mate, that's just too many to do at once?
Oh, there's never too many.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's
but no,
crazy.
look,
Imagine walking in with 900 cards.
Do you have
It is.
like when that happens, do you have to tell them it might take a bit longer than 48 business
Yeah.
days?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So, it takes a bit longer, and the indexing as well. And, we have very, very strict WHS components in place just to maintain graders' well-being. So, we make sure that we still maintain regular breaks. We still make sure that there's enough rest, between, grading and inputting and things like that, being at the computer, because it's not just a grading as well, but it's also the indexing, it's the label inputting, it's all of those things that come with those cards, which means that rather than sort of leaving a big submission like that towards the end, we can sometimes break it away. So we allocate it to a grade and we say, okay, just do 50 or 60 of that customer a week, for example, in addition to some of the other smaller ones. That way they're sort of chipping away at it, and it also doesn't create any sort of bottlenecks, because we have, so with our vendor partners, not only do our vendors have a discounted rate, but they also get a bit of a fast pass, because we recognize that they're taking submissions on our behalf, and they're also selling our slabs. So for vendors as well, sometimes vendors submit 200 to 400 cards a month, and so we need to have a proper system in place to make sure that they don't create bottlenecks either, because at any one time we could have 5 to 10 vendors submitting 200 to 300 cards each a month, and we need to make sure that the workflow is properly managed. Yeah.
I don't feel guilty at all about now I'm dropping 30 off stuff.
Well, I just saw that there's a grading package of 25 cards you can do online, Jordan. So
I'll do
It's
that
just-
twice
There you
now.
Look, I think it's a big
off
thing.
900. I feel good about dropping off 50 then. I feel like good.
I think a big thing Australians have got to understand is keep it in Australia. Like, why do we always have to go overseas to do things? It's bad enough that things are really getting out of hand in Australia without going to overseas and giving them our money. Well, try and keep it in Australia. Try and look after the people that are looking after you. Sometimes you just got to look at the not the value of everything. I think you got to go and say, you know what, I'm going to help someone local, and and push them forward, and it helps everyone else, and it grows the value of the card in Australia instead of being overseas. You can see you can see that, like, even when we went to the last Pokemon show. You have a lot of vendors there, a lot of cards, and there was a lot of people. And I think it's great. I wish we had that scene for the soccer cards and things like that, because we do really we go to a lot of shows, and every time we go there, we're so disappointed that there's never soccer cards there. And not only that, when they do sell soccer cards, especially older ones, they want to charge you through the roof. When we buy them from England, and we buy them for literally a third of the price.
Well, that's you who manages to buy for a third.
Don't
Jordan
compare
himself,
everyone else's
Eliot.
prices with
Yeah.
yours.
But I do think it's a major thing. Australians have got to learn to put things in place in Australia.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I really think
it's, the more and more
key...
people that do. Oh, sorry, my internet's just gone a bit slow.
No, that's okay. I was just going to sort of chime in there and just sort of say, that I absolutely agree with you, Adam. I think one of the key things that I'm really passionate about is that education and that awareness piece, because I think people are still a little bit scared of Australian grading, particularly where vendors will quite openly say Australian grading is worthless, or just keep it raw if you're not sending it to PSA. They're very PSA centric, and the reality is that it's not like that. We have a vast array of vendors that can hand on heart say, hey, we sell these cards, and they sell quite a lot. Like, we've got a vendor in Tasmania and one in Perth in particular that spring to mind. Between those two, they're churning over 1,000 cards every 6 weeks, through their markets, conventions, through their shops. So I think the awareness and the education piece is really important. I think people thinking about grading as like currency, really helps people understand and land that we're not trying to say that Australian grading is at the same level of PSA, because that's like saying the Australian dollar is at the same level as the American. It's not. But trying to understand that, would also help people a little bit more. And then just giving it a go. Like, for TCG grading, for $15 with no upcharge, you get your card graded, and it's protected,
100%.
No-brainer.
I couldn't think of anything more exciting. When I did my submission, I was that excited about, and I probably didn't have many cards at the time, and then my cards are just gone through the roof in here, and I've got that many on display now. I just get that excited showing off cards, and especially in a slab. Once you get them in that slab, they're good for life. They're not going to get damaged. You're not sliding them in and out of things to make things work. I couldn't think of a better way to present a card. And I got a mate. He doesn't like them grading, but that's his choice. For me, I love presentation, and I love to be able to pick up a card and go, how good's that? Play around with it, read the back, and I could read the same card 10 times. But I can just sit there sometimes and just like look at these cards and go, oh, mate, these are beautiful.
Especially with the hollow foil label that TCG Grading use. When you pair that against some of the parallels and some of the prisms that's in the sports cards, it just pops. Like, some of these cards are awesome.
I was just about to say.
I got the laser, and the laser there goes perfectly well with your it's hot. It was unreal.
I just wanted to say, because the first time I went to Adam's little cave over there, and like, he already got these graded, and I remember how giddy he was actually showing me the cards, because he did think it looked really good with the TCG stuff on it. So I mean, fair play. I agree. It looks really nice.
Yeah, I think it's funny, Adam. Now after you've done that sub, right? You the trading card part of your cave is sort of it's multiplied quite largely after that. Maybe Jonathan can give us maybe a bit of an idea of sort of, I guess, how do you choose something great?
Look, and that's really, really important. So whether it's for your personal collection or not, I think raising awareness around just what to look for also helps set expectations, because one of the other things that we hear a lot about all the time is, oh, but it was pack fresh. I just pulled it out of the pack. How could it be a 7 or an 8? And it comes down to printing quality. You also don't know whether the vendor, rolled their chair over the pack before they put it up for sale and stuff like that. You just have no idea. So one of the first things that we do is we say to people, always look out for 4 things. The first thing is the surface. So the surface is one of the main things of the card, because it's one of the things that we look at first, particularly the front card, the front face of the card. So look for things like print lines, look for things like white dots, any imperfections or blemishes, those sorts of scratches, those sorts of things will definitely impact the overall grade of the card. The surface is one of the things that we place a lot of importance on, because it is the majority of the card. There are some great little tools from Amazon that people can buy and just keep in the drawer. Just a simple magnifying glass with a backlight, some UV light as well. UV light is fantastic for showing whiting on cards as well, and some of these things are $5 on Amazon. So the surface is definitely one of the things that you really want to draw your eye across. The second thing is looking at the corners. And for sports cards, it is really tough and rough, because sports cards use sharp corners, whereas Pokemon cards use rounded corners. And so a lot of the time we see a lot of sports cards, whether the Panini or Topps or whoever, where the corners are just ever so slightly sort of bent in, dented, and this just because they're very, very sharp. And unless you're really looking after that card, the corners is always one of the first things to go. So looking at the corners as to whether it's sort of dog-eared, bent, whether there's any whiting, those sorts of things would definitely impact. The edges as well, so making sure that there's no sort of fraying on the edges, making sure that there's no whiting on the edges. And sometimes, particularly with some lines of TCG, you can sometimes have a bit of the perforation that can sometimes sort of stay on the edges of the card as well. Sometimes that can impact the overall grade, and sometimes we allow it because it's through a bit of a tolerance, and depending on the actual TCG line itself. And then finally, we then look at the centering. So, and the centering refers to just how centered the main image is. And there are some fantastic free apps available in app stores and online where you can upload the card and it calculates centering within certain ratios and limits and things like that as well. So it's definitely the surface, the corners, the edges and the centering. Those are the four cornerstones of grading, and the majority of grading companies worldwide use those four cornerstones to determine what the overall grade is. And so companies like ours, we you'll also be able to see what the subgrades are. So you'll be able to see what the centering was out of 10, what the corners were, and so forth, and how they overall made up the overall grade of that particular collectible item.
I have a very a follow-up question about that, which may be silly, maybe not. So corners obviously are the corners. Edges, is it like anywhere on the card, like the edge of the card? So like it could be like the sides.
That's right. Yeah, the sides, the top, the bottom. So again, a lot of the time, we've also seen, particularly for people that are just starting out, they actually sometimes put the card straight into a top loader without putting it into a penny sleeve, and sometimes that, or sometimes they sort of press too much into the edge of the card to take it out of a top loader because it's too snug. It's a slightly thicker card that they've wedged into a top loader. So all of those things create stress and fractures in the overall card makeup, which can definitely impact particularly the edges. So we always say to people, always have a really good pack of penny sleeves and a really good pack of top loaders always there, and it's always using those two whenever you're sort of trying to protect whatever cards you've got.
And I think there is one of the one-touch companies actually has a measuring thing on measuring the width of your card, so you know what size point your card is to put it in. Yep. Because I guess you talk about your grading and stuff. If you are grading a thicker card, those are the ones that are even more prevalent to get those right, because you're not grading 4 corners, you're probably grading 8. And you're probably grading 8 sets of edges, right? From my experience, I have graded a 10, like in Beck. One of my thicker cards I've got graded as a 10. I can't remember what it is, but if you're wanting to,
funny you say that, Eliot. When I first started getting into cards, I had a thicker card. I put it into a penny sleeve, and I tried to push into a top loader. That was too small. And now it's got this thumb indent on the top of it where I've just tried to wedge it down. Lucky the card wasn't anything valuable, but I just remember thinking, shit, this shouldn't be so hard to push in.
I think it's happened to all of us at some point.
And now the card on top got like a little U shape.
Yeah.
If you jump on somewhere like Select Australia, they're good for your I guess your accessories for your cards to keep them safe and sound and clean and out of hands of kids and stuff like that as well. I've got a couple running around and they're like, "Oh, what's this, Dad?" So
put it down.
It's even more important to have everything sort of protected. So after that, I bought the kids a box of Topps Grown Disney, and that they're happy they've got their cards, so they can sort of they can do their thing and stuff like that. So it's really cool. I think we're sort of looking at putting something together and sending something off to TCG in the future. I've got a set of 3 EPL groovy cards that I think would just pop in the TCG slab. So those will be off my shelf and sub down to you guys in the future, I reckon. So I guess probably wanted to, before we wrap up, was there any sort of general questions, Adam? Was there any questions from any viewers and stuff?
I've got one here from Josh. He's written in here. What about comic books? Do you do comic books?
Look, it's one of those ones alongside the coins and the tickets, comic books, and also the jumbo cards. So Pokemon make oversized cards as well, and that's also one of the items that we constantly get asked about. I'm not ruling it out. It's something we can definitely look to in the future. Where sort of some of our immediate focus has been on is being able to grade up to 180 point, which we'll be able to do in the next sort of 5 to 6 weeks, and then launching Funko Pops and video games, because that's where the customer feedback has taken us to that point. But there's no reason why we can't look at some of these things as we start to settle down, Funko, video games, the 180 point cards, and then draw our attention to some of these other items, because it is stuff that we constantly get asked about as well. We'd love to be in a position where we're able to provide a service for quite a few of these things. Just today we even got asked about booster boxes, and it's like, oh, okay, that's an interesting concept. So it's one of the other ones that we've written on the list to do a bit of research and development on. So it's definitely not a no. It's a case of let's work on it, and let's just see where next year sort of takes us around some of that research and development.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think gives confidence to everyone that you want to make sure you've got everything right for one thing first before you're moving on, to, I guess, the next category of grading and stuff like that. So, I think that, that should, in my opinion, give everyone a lot of confidence, being an expert in one thing before moving on to the next thing.
My head's going crazy, eh? What do I can get graded, eh?
Yeah.
My head's going nuts. I'm looking around my cave going,
and I'm just like, yeah.
I do have a follow-up question in regards to that in a way. So I guess, you mentioned you recently went through some recruitment, and also how you need to obviously learn, whatever it is you're doing if you want to move from 185 to above, or whatever the case is. What is the training like when it comes to these kind of things? Like, you bring people on board, they might have never done grading before. So how do you train them to actually be graders,
Yeah, look, it's sometimes a little bit like a bit of Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. We sort of get them, people do really mundane tasks and sort of go, why, John, why do you make me do this? It's like, well, you'll see in a minute, so we get people to, spend quite a bit of time just looking through cards, getting to understand symbols, getting to understand parallels, prisms, getting to understand the variants, getting to understand set names and that type of thing. And that takes quite a bit of time. We won't put anyone, one of the last things is that they'll do through their training cycle is actually weld a card, let alone grade. So one of the first things that we'll do is we'll get them across some quite experiential bits and pieces around learning about different card lines and really getting in there, and spending quite a bit of time just doing that type of process. As part of that sort of learning, we'll also ask the grader to pick up a bit of an expertise. So we've got different graders that have different interests. So we've got an expert in Dragon Ball, an expert in Yu-Gi-Oh, an expert in Lorcana, an expert in sports. So that way, although we have a baseline level of knowledge, we have someone that is really passionate about a certain TCG line that will be able to go, hey, can I just run this past you? So there's a bit of a quite a detailed process in how we sort of get that person upskilled in that area of speciality. And then there's quite a bit of a process around buddying up, and having that person sit alongside a grader, testing out their grading capability, testing out and examining their input skills, how they can do the label research. So a lot of it, Yoni, is actually on the job training. A lot of it is shadowing, spending a lot of time with the graders, and spending a lot of time with our knowledge banks, and in doing some of these tasks that get them truly to learn about the TCG, and the card and the structure itself. And then there's also the training around the equipment and what to look for and that type of thing. So before a grader actually is able to get to be able to grade on their own, they have to go through quite an extensive process. There is quite an extensive QA process through a buddy system, where we won't sign off on a grader being able to grade by themselves unless they're able to meet the same grade that an experienced grader has provided that particular card. So, unless they match, go back and you'll always have someone double check your work. So it's almost like a bit of like an L's and a P plates type of, and then full license type of approach that we've got around just how much we sort of are there with that person, making sure that they understand what they're doing every step of the way.
That's good, because obviously you if one of the things we want to do is make sure it stays in Australia and within TCG and things like that, for example. It's good to know that they're being trained well to do so. So
I've got a couple other questions here. I've got one from I'll just bring it up. Here it is. From the Kit Couture. Where would be the best place to look up values of cards? Found a whole bunch of Pokemon cards from when I was a kid the other day and have no idea where to start.
Yeah. So there's two places that sort of come to mind, and look, a lot of people have all these different ideas and tools that they use, but the ones that we use are eBay sold listings. So going into eBay and setting the filter to look up sold and completed listings is always really, really useful. The other one that we use is price charting and Sports Card Pro. So Sports Card Pro provides you with an index for sports cards, obviously, price charting for everything else. And the great thing with price charting is that it uses a bit of an aggregate of eBay sold listings and gives you the trend over time. It also gives you a breakdown of what the different grades would be, as well as the raw price for the particular card, as does Sports Card Pro. So sometimes we end up sort of triangulating, because there can sometimes be a bit of a lag between eBay data dropping into price charting. So if we feel like the market's moving a bit too fast, or if we feel like we might need to sort of double check what's in price charting, a really good indicator is eBay sold listings. But my advice to anyone trying to look up value is to always look at more than one source, because we've heard of all sorts of stories of shrill bidding and people conducting all sorts of funny business through eBay, which can then impact other sort of marketing and valuation engines like price charting. So always looking through at least 2 or 3 different sources is great. 130 Point is another really good one. Card Ladder is another good one, particularly for sports. Yeah, particularly for sports, it's quite good. So always look at at least 2 to 3 sources just to get a really good, well-rounded view as to what's happening with that card. There are some other apps that people use more broadly. One of the challenges with some of the leading apps is that they may not take all the eBay data in, or they may calculate values based on the most recent listing as opposed to an aggregate, or as opposed to a set of listings over time. And so that's what we've just found, price charting just works for us in combination with eBay sold listings, and then the occasional card data lookup as well.
Beautiful. I've got one here from my daughter's boyfriend's father. He's a mad card collector as well. So she's picked a good one. Tony Hay, what is the difference between a grading of a 10 to, say, a 10 black or a 10 pristine?
Really, really good question. Because when it comes to a 10, a pristine 10 or a black 10, or what we call in TCG now a flawless 10, is a 10 where they've gotten a perfect score for centering, a perfect score for surface, a perfect score for edges, and a perfect score for corners. So because all of the main areas of the card score a perfect 10, that means that the overall score of the card is a 10, and that's what separates it from what's called a gem min 10. So a pristine or a black label 10 is a card that is truly flawless. It's a card that no fault was found. across those 4 dimensions of grading that particular card, which is why some of the pristine cards attract a premium, because that card is perfect, right? Whereas you've got a gem mint 10 where, depending on the grading methodology of that particular grading company, so a grading company could still allow a card to be 10 gem mint if it has 3 10s and a 9.5, or 3 10s and a 9. That could still be considered a gem mint 10, because the overall score of the card, the overall weighting of the card, leans it more towards being perfect at a gem mint level, but not at a pristine or at a black label level, which is why you've got that kind of shade, that kind of distinction. When you get into the 10 stratosphere, and so that's where looking into the subgrades is really useful to help you understand, exactly what's going on with the card, to really get a sense of, what sort of let the card down a little bit. And most companies will let you know whether it's a pristine or a black label, because they'll actually change the label. So Beckett's use a black label, quite literally, and then other companies like in Australia, Trading Card Grading, they publish the subgrades on the back, and they have a gold pristine label. So if you get a perfect 10 with Trading Card Grading, it's a gold label, and so that's how people can easily distinguish between your ordinary gem mint 10 and something that's a bit more extra special, because it's perfect across all those areas.
That's something I don't want to get into.
Yeah.
Looking for them.
Maybe next time.
I've got a question, if we've got time for one more question.
Yeah, okay.
What's the best way to prep or send your cards in for grading for you guys? Like, do you guys offer like a card cleaning service or something before grading, or do we do that ourselves? Because obviously I'm about to send in quite a few, and how do I, like, what do I keep them in a top loader?
Yeah. But first thing, Jordan, don't try to colour in any aspects of the card, right? Because we'll know. We will know. Okay? Don't be dodgy, mate. Don't be dodgy, right?
There goes my black label. Shit.
He just cracked open a fresh pair of crayons.
Well,
what a waste of crayons.
You'd be surprised how many people actually try to actually colour in the corners and the edges.
That's nuts.
We're just like, guys, no. We send it back as altered. We can't grade it. So definitely cleaning is one of the things that we're still looking into. We're kind of on the fence, because some of the cards that we've put through some third-party cleaning companies have meant that the card has been, altered. The structural integrity of the card's been compromised. And so we're trying to sort of find our way through what cleaning means in the world of grading. So my advice would be just to sort of use just a microfiber cloth if you wanted to get sort of any dust or any fingerprints off lightly. Put it into a penny sleeve and into a top loader. That's all we need. We've had cards, and please don't put sticky tape on the top. The card is not going to jump out magically from the top loader. It's very annoying for us to try to get the card out with sticky tape on it. Some people put sticky tape, glad wrap, and then bubble wrap for every card. There's no need to do that.
Not doing that for 50 cards.
And for 5, 10, 50 cards, it's just penny sleeve top loader and just wedged in some cardboard, and then that gets put into a box with some bubble wrap. That's it. We have had some cards sent in to us wrapped around a handkerchief, a sock, tissue paper.
A sock.
A sock.
What?
Yes.
We're still talking about cards, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I had something better, but I wasn't going to say it, Yoni.
Yeah, definitely not with the adult cards, Adam. Definitely not with the adult cards. Yeah. Keep it simple. That's all we need.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
If they got sent, if they got sent to you in a one touch, would that be okay, Jonathan? Or would you guys prefer it taken out of the one touch and into a top loader?
Yeah, always the top loaders is what really works well for us, particularly where we use the scanning equipment to help create a catalog of the card as it sort of comes in. So we've got CCTV, almost like a bit of a casino, where it sort of monitors how we open packages, boxes, and then straight away we scan the card to catalog it. So putting it into a top loader just means that it's just that little bit faster for us to do some of those initial processes. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Awesome. I guess probably just before we wrap up, I think it's been a good episode. I think we've,
it's really been fantastic.
We've really been able to pick Jonathan's brain on a few things, and I think if Jonathan's keen, we'd love to have him back and maybe get just a little bit more deeper into, I guess, the nitty gritty stuff of grading. I think I feel like we've only scratched the surface, but probably. One thing Jonathan sort of thought would be a cool thing to do is maybe this weekend for us just to pick 10 cards and go through that pre-grading checklist that Jonathan discussed earlier in the pod and just see how you go. And maybe we'll send those 2 cards off for grading and let's see what grades they get.
They better be.
I'll leave a note telling you what I'm expecting.
Yeah. This is what
Perfect tens.
We can check the card and give it a grade ourselves, and then we'll send it off, and we'll see what it comes back.
Yeah. You might as well just give
idea,
me the box to put it in, and I'll just do it all. It's all right.
And certainly, I guess. But thanks so much, Jonathan, for your time, and it's been heaps of fun having a chat to you.
Been awesome.
I know you're a busy man, and I know we really appreciate having you on and talking all things great, and it's been super cool.
No worries at all. Thank you very much for having me.
Anytime, mate. Anytime. We love this.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday, we love the collector pod, and you've outdone us tonight. It was absolutely sensational. I learned a lot, which is fantastic. I feel I'm a bit of a novice in the card game. I like buying them and everything like that. Tonight, I've learned a lot. Thank you to everyone who joined us as well. This weekend, we're still on international break with something Eliot hates, and most of us hate because we're not watching United. But we can have a rest from them for a little while. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Eliot. Thank you, Yoni. And thank you, Jonathan. We will have a part 2, and I'm looking forward to it. So we'll talk to you later. See you later. Check.
See ya.
Players.